All right, welcome to the Pole Nation Lambles with the sports. A lot of college football talk, but surprisingly, it was the biggest scare. Oregon escapes Texas Tech after being down 27-18. They scored 0 points in the third quarter, but then were able to score 23 in the fourth quarter. Like I said, 8-point game, great game. Bo Nix did an excellent job. Tyler Show, great. He was the leading rusher with 23 carries and 101 yards. He can run, which is not shocking and surprising, but this almost ruins Oregon's hopes of making the college football playoff because they play somebody easy this week, I think, and then they play Colorado next week. So that's going to be a tough one. What did you think about this Oregon game? And the reason why this topic is talked about because you did pick Texas Tech to possibly sneak in, or did I pick Texas Tech or was you?
I think that was you.
I picked Texas Tech. I apologize. I picked Texas Tech. Yeah, I picked Texas Tech. You picked forgot somebody else. I can't remember right now, but later. But yeah, I picked Texas Tech to sneak in, and they're done. They're 1-2. They lost to Wyoming, which messed them up. I think losing to Oregon doesn't really mess them up. When they lost to Wyoming, it messed them up. So Texas Tech sneaking in the top 8 is out of my window. What did you think about this Oregon and Texas Tech game? It's a very high-scoring game. They both combined for 70 points. Not a lot of defense. You know Oregon, they don't play no defense. High-scoring game. How did you feel about this?
Yeah. So like you just said with the defense, Oregon, their running defense needs to at least put up some sort of fight. I mean, it was embarrassing. They just got trampled over. And, to your point with Texas Tech possibly being like your sleeper team, they're always sneaky good. They're never a team that at the beginning of the year, you're thinking this is the year Texas Tech is going to make their run or whatever. But they're always sneaky good, and they're always due to upset at least one good team throughout the year. And that's just been kind of like their mantra for the past 5-ish years. Bo Nix played well. He played, I think, how you expect him to play in an offense that's really designed for him to do well, but they didn't have a run game either. Now, traditionally, Oregon doesn't normally have the strongest run game, but they played awful on the ground. They couldn't defend the ground. And not that they got lucky because they should have won this game anyways. But, I mean, just like you were saying, I was scared. I was looking, I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to lose money on damn Texas Tech beating Oregon? Yeah, I mean, they should have won the game. I'm glad that they did win the game for the sake of my own pockets. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to step up if they're expecting to come out on top of a very, like we talked about last show, a very strong Pac-12. They're not going to be able to stay afloat if they're playing teams like Texas Tech this close, because some team is going to sneak up and bite them in the butt if they keep letting this happen.
Yeah, because Oregon, it only gets tougher for Oregon. Like I said, they play Colorado in the next 2 weeks, and that's going to be much-watched TV. Texas Tech and Joey McGuire, I think they did, what they could get done. But their playoff hopes is over. I think their Big 12 hopes is over as well. It's not really too much to say about Texas Tech, but Oregon, we expect the team to be so highly. You have Dan Lanning, who's in his second year at Oregon. He was the defensive coordinator for Georgia before they won the championships as well. So he's a defensive coach, but they have a high offense. It's surprising the defense can't get done. Bo Nix is one of the top 5, top 10 quarterbacks in all of college football, possibly a Heisman candidate, but we're talking about Shedeur Sanders right now. Shedeur Sanders, Caleb Williams, Drake May. For Bo Nix, he puts up numbers. It's just going to be hard for him to win it because you got so many names in front of him. And like you said, a couple weeks back, he couldn't he couldn't get the job done in Auburn. Auburn was his home school, you know. He couldn't get the job done in Auburn. You could say coaching, all that stuff. I don't know. It's a different story for later. But in order for Oregon to be a top 14, they have to stay undefeated. Reason why? Georgia has a real easy schedule. They're going to blow by everybody.
Yeah.
Alabama, we don't see them losing 3 games in a row. Ohio State has a really easy schedule. They don't play anybody until Notre Dame next week. They play Youngstown State this week. So they play a garbage school.
And they only put up 37
Michigan
points, man. They should have knocked them out. And it's the same thing from week 1. We expected them to just completely knock them out in week 1. They only scored 20-some points. This week they put up 37, but against Youngstown State, what are we doing, bro? This is Ohio State, man. Y'all should be racking up scores against lesser opponents like this, and they're not. So I do have both of us put them in our top 4. I do have some major concerns for Ohio State right now.
The offensive line and the quarterback in the run game, that's something. So Oregon does have a chance, but you have to beat Utah, which Oregon has struggled with Utah in the past. You do have to beat an upcoming Colorado team, which Colorado is upcoming as well. You do have to beat Washington, so they have to beat certain teams in order to get there. But we'll see how that goes. This is what we need to talk about next. Ladies and gentlemen, 6-hour delay. 6-hour delay. Virginia Tech and Purdue was supposed to be played on ESPN2. I was watching from my house. It wasn't on. I guess I somewhat fell asleep. I don't know what happened to me on early Saturday. I fell asleep. Then Notre Dame game gets delayed, and this game gets delayed. Virginia Tech and Purdue at home. The game restarted at 6:15. Tech was down 17-0. Then it was 17 at halftime, and then great defensive game in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, Grant Wells just threw some bad balls, bad interceptions, overthrowing receivers again. Oh, Lord, how do you lose to Purdue? You have Hudson Card, who was a former Texas transfer. He played for Texas against Alabama and almost beat them. I mean, he didn't throw no touchdowns and no picks. It was 20 for 34, but like you said, the game, Devin Mockabee with 21 carries for 95 yards and a touchdown. They rushed for 179 yards, and Tech, as a total, rushed for 11. And Grant Wells had minus 24 yards rushing. I don't know if they count the sacks or him running backwards. I don't know the stats on that.
Yeah.
But 11 yards rushing. Go ahead.
No, I mean,
I was right. Okay.
Yeah.
So 11 yards rushing for Virginia Tech. Okay, yeah. So 11 yards rushing to 179. What in the world happened with Virginia Tech? Purdue is not that good, but they fought hard. What happened to Tech? And then the final drive, you put Kyron Jones in there, which he was very accurate. Long ball, very nice. Now, he underthrew the last one. He had to turn the rocks. He had to turn around and come back and get it. I think he threw some decent balls. Is there a quarterback change going on at the University of Virginia Tech? Is Brent Pry's job on the line? What's going on in Tech?
So, to start, I think anybody that's calling for Brent Pry's job is a little silly. It's his second year in a rebuild, coming off a 3-win season. This is a season where most fans, realistic fans at least, were thinking we would win like 6 games, and we still I don't want to say easily, but we could very well win 6 games, and it wouldn't be like a shock or anything. And I think winning 6 games in the second year of a complete rebuild after flipping 60% of the roster is a step in the right direction. So I don't want to hear anything. I saw it on Twitter. I don't want to hear anything about Brent Pry's job. All right. You can't expect the second year of a tenure coming off of like awful recruiting classes and stuff to just magically get better, like that much better. I still think this is a 5-6 win team. 6 wins gets you in a bowl. I think if we get to a bowl, it's a massive step in the right direction. But the run game is still trash, and the O-line holds a lot of blame to that. Now, Grant Wells did run into multiple sacks by himself. It wasn't, completely on the O-line. He put himself in some bad situations. The run defense, like I said, trash. We let ODU put up 200 yards on the ground against us. It was not a surprise to me that a Big Ten team, even a Big Ten team like Purdue that runs an air raid offense, they still put up 170 some yards because they knew that's how to beat this Virginia Tech team. When it comes to the quarterback, I think Drones should be starting the next game and every game for the foreseeable future. If you look at Virginia Tech's past, we are historically good with dual threat quarterbacks. And when we don't have dual threat quarterbacks, we kind of suck. And on a team where we can't get the run game going, now, is that on the running back room? Is that on the O-line? I think a little like blame could be put in both spots, but in my mind, it's more on the O-line than it is our running backs. Why would you not put in a quarterback that then adds another threat of running the ball? I mean, Grant Wells probably runs like a 4.9 40. Like, I don't want this guy out here running read options and speed options and, triple op. Like he every single option you can think of, we've run with Grant Wells and it doesn't work. The dude is not a mobile quarterback. I mean, I'm sure he was fine at Marshall playing a much lesser schedule, and he was fine in high school playing much lesser athletes. This is the ACC. You're playing against big-time guys. This is a Big Ten opponent who are historically good at A, stopping the run, B, getting the run done on offense. So, and on the defensive side as well, I said this after the ODU game. If ODU had like a competent quarterback that could put the ball where it needed to go, we would have gotten exposed in that game as well. So obviously you have a Texas transfer in there who played Alabama super well last year. Like, yeah, he's going to be able to find those holes in our passing game defense. And he did. Like just dudes wide open in zones that it looked like guys were just missing their zones completely. Or I don't know if that's completely on the players as much as the new defensive coordinator we have. It's his first year calling plays on defense. Brent Pry isn't calling them anymore. But the pass defense got away with a lot versus ODU, and we got exposed this week there. And Pry said that he's not done with Wells. He said there's still, he's still riding with him. I don't know if that means that, because, why else would he put Drones in at the end if he didn't think that Drones was giving them the best chance to win? So it does put me in a better state of mind that he's starting to see that Grant Wells isn't the answer. But in the post-game press conference, he said, there's certain situations, there's certain packages where Grant Wells is the guy that's giving us the best chance to win. And personally, I don't see it. I don't think much of Hokie Twitter sees it. And maybe it's just him trying not to completely demoralize his QB, but in my mind, obviously in yours and in most people on Twitter's mind, Drones needs to be the guy going forward. He's got so much zip on the ball. He bodied that dude out of bounds on that 11-yard run. I think he's got to be the answer. And we've got, Wells is obviously, he's going to be gone after this year. But I want Drones to be the starter for the rest of the year. So maybe we can get, Pop Watson, who's our number 3 right now. He'll probably go redshirt for the year. I think he can play 4 games and still be redshirted. So I do think that Pop Watson could start to see a little bit more of an opportunity to get in some games, considering the success that Virginia Tech historically has with dual threat quarterbacks. And it's so clear that Grant is not the guy. I need Brent Pry to get on the same page. I need it to happen. And this was a game that I thought was a toss-up going in. I think in the prediction we gave last week, neither one of us were completely sold on Virginia Tech winning. We both picked them to win. We were both wrong, obviously. But we lost on a quarterback run, and it was the run defense that let it happen. So if that trend continues, I still think we're a 5-6 win team. We'll be able to find ways to win games, but Drones has got to be the guy. He's got to be.
Oh Lord. Oh, Brent Pry. I love the insight. Like I said, Brent Pry was on our channel back in February. Championship Coaches Clinic on Totem Pole Sports. I'm not gonna say anything bad about him, but I'm gonna say this about Tech. As long as Grant Wells is our quarterback, I have no faith in Tech winning. As long as Grant Wells is our goddamn quarterback. I'm being serious right now. That man is so inaccurate. He's good one series, garbage the next series. He's missing throws. He's running backwards. I want Drones in there. You know what's going to happen? Drones, you need to start against Rutgers. And this was going to happen. Well, the prediction thing going to start either Wednesday or Thursday for this college football stuff, along with NFL. I'm going to pick Rutgers to beat them in Virginia Tech if Grant Wells is starting. Now, they have a different quarterback in there, and they make changes last minute. I'll change my mind and go to Tech. But for this game against Rutgers, at Rutgers, on the road, Rutgers is going to beat Virginia Tech because I have no confidence in Grant Wells, and I'm not going to be sorry to any fans out there, but I'm not sold on Grant Wells. I mean, Marshall. Oh yeah, he's from Marshall. He might have been a part of the team. No, he wasn't a part of the team. I thought he was part of the team that beat Notre Dame last year, but he was not. But Marshall, all this other stuff. This is not Marshall. You're playing in the SEC.
He was throwing interceptions like crazy at Marshall, playing lower level teams, and he's still turning the ball over. I guess they were hoping that he would be able to make some adjustments, and after an off season of actually being in the system the whole time and everything, he can make strides. He's not. He can't. It's clear. He cannot do it. He is he's a group of 5 quarterback. He's not a power 5 quarterback. It has never been more evident to me than right now. He's just not the answer. I'm sure he's a great dude. He's a great dude. On the football field, get his ass on the bench, bro. I don't care.
Oh, congratulations, Grant Wells. I know you got engaged. You got married to your wife 2 weeks ago. I think I saw it on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. We're not blaming you as a human being. We don't know you as a human being, but your football sucks. We're criticizing your football. It sucks. I've never been confident in you since you came. Even when I watched you last year on Totem Pole Nation, when Totem Pole Nation went to the Hokies, and I went to the Hokies versus the Miami game at home. It was a 12 o'clock game. Lord have mercy, I never had any faith in you. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry, but I want to see a good product on the field. I want to see good product. What the good product game is, the good product game was this. Utah versus Baylor, I think was a good product game. It came down to the end. Now, was it a PI? Was it not? Baylor lost to the last play of the game. Obviously, Utah survived. Is Baylor falling off a cliff, or Utah is just winning? Not saying old-fashioned, but with the Cam Rising injury, Utah is finding ways to win. So is it Utah? Are they better, or is it Baylor just not having that? By the way, Baylor's starting quarterback did get hurt. He's out 2 to 3 weeks, so they had a new quarterback in there. So what do you think on the Baylor and Utah game?
Well, I was shocked to see how bad Barnes played, especially after that week 1 just whomping he put on Florida. I thought Barnes was like a guy that they could keep in and they wouldn't have to sweat it until Cam Rising came back and took the reins back. Nate Johnson came in, filled the gap well. He passed the ball efficiently, and, he's always effective on the ground. So, the rushing attack for Utah was also just electric. But Utah's defense won this game. Now, like you said, controversial PI, and the starting quarterback for Baylor getting hurt is, you can put an asterisk in it. My prediction that Baylor would come back this year much better than last year is obviously wrong. The offense can't do anything. So, I don't think there's too much to say about this game. You've got 3 backup quarterbacks playing. It was going to be ugly regardless. 2 for Utah, 1 for Baylor. It was going to be ugly. It wasn't set up to be a barn burner, like 50-50 or whatever. Baylor, I don't think is on a path to do anything great, especially coming up playing Texas. They're going to get their doors blown off, I think. Utah is in okay hands. I was much higher on them last week before I saw how bad Barnes played. But if they can keep squeaking out wins like this until Cam Rising comes back, Utah could very well, if Bama drops another game, Utah could be that team that squeaks in and fills that 4 spot in the college football playoff.
Well, this is another game we're both wrong at. Ole Miss versus Tulane. I guess their quarterback had a knee injury. So their starting quarterback for Tulane didn't play either. But watching that game, Tulane had chances to win until they turned the ball at the very end. Ole Miss pulls it out. Lane Kiffin on a 4th and 2. I think they threw a touchdown pass on a 4th and 2. Very gutsy call. Ole Miss came out with the win. What are your thoughts on this Ole Miss and Tulane game? Now, Ole Miss is a top 5 team until they play SEC teams like LSU and Alabama. What did you think of this game?
Yeah, so like what I said last week still holds true. I don't know what to expect from Ole Miss, but at the end of the day, this is a good win against a top 25 team. Now, also to what I said about Tulane, I thought once their schedule got a little tougher that they'd be falling out of the top 25. I didn't think it was going to happen this week, but it did. They can still put up, points, and obviously not having your starting QB is a big, knock against that. But Ole Miss's big 4th quarter really just won the game. It was competitive pretty much until the 4th quarter, and then Ole Miss just opened up the floodgates, let Tulane have it. The rush defense for Tulane was great, but the secondary let their guard down, and when they slipped up, Ole Miss took advantage. And, at the end of the day, I don't think my opinion on either team really changed too much. Tulane is a borderline top 25 team. They'll probably be in the top 35 if the rankings went down that low, and they'll be within that range. I didn't think that they would make any crazy run into the top 15. And I still don't know what to expect from Ole Miss going in and week out. They're, like you said, they can play like a top 5 team until they go and play against other SEC opponents. So my opinion didn't really change. We were both wrong in our predictions, but at the end of the day, nothing really changed in my mind.
Last game that I was wrong about, App State versus UNC. App State had the game won. Now, UNC could have won in regulation. The App State coach calls timeout when UNC missed the field goal the first time. And then luckily he missed it the second time. The defense, it was a high-scoring game. I said 62-59. But it was 40-34. It was close with it being in double overtime. Long game. The defense just got tired. I wish App State would have ran the ball like it did in the first possession. That's how they scored. In overtime, they kept running the football. UNC did the same thing. UNC, one of their running backs had 230 yards rushing.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy was a beast. He was just running up, and I think he had 3 rushing touchdowns by himself. Not much Drake May had to really do. The App State defense just couldn't stop UNC's run game. So what did you think of this game? These games are always nice. These last 2 years, it was very close games, but App State just fails at the end, and UNC just becomes the better team. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's evident past couple of years, App State has played up to the competition when they go against top teams like this. They're not getting blown out, really. This game was completely decided on the ground. Both teams dominated on the ground. So, the UNC defense, they didn't seem as awful as I thought they were going to, but they allowed 200+ yards on the ground. So it's hard to tell if their pass defense improved at all, or if the focus of the App State game plan was to just keep it on the ground, because it was working. 200 yards on the ground, I'll take that any day, and especially to go into double overtime against a ranked team. Drake May is still, I think, going to be a top 2 pick. I still think he's the second best quarterback in college football. He's got to step it up. he has not played these first 2 weeks as well as I expected him to at all. No touchdowns, no turnovers. I'll give him credit on that, but no touchdowns in the air for a dude that's going to be like supposed to be a Heisman candidate. Like it's a little worrisome. Now he put the ball on the ground well. He ran 57 yards and a touchdown, but the story of the game is Amarion Hampton. That's your UNC guy that you're talking about. 234 yards on the ground, 9 yards a carry. It speaks so well for the UNC O-line. And I think if they can carry this momentum, Drake should be able to convert it. If the O-line is playing that well, he should be able to light guys up more than we've seen him do. Now, granted, 2 weeks in, anything can happen these last 10 weeks. But he's going to have to step it up if he's going to be in that Heisman thought at the end of the year. And if he wants to maintain being, a top 2 pick, it's almost like set in stone, like before the season started, that it was going to be Caleb at 1-1 and Drake at 1-2. So if he, is only putting up 200 something yards, like low 200s in the air, a couple touchdowns or whatever, I don't see like an NFL team using their number 2 pick on a guy that's just making it happen. He's just making it happen. He's in the first 2 weeks, he has not been the reason that they're winning these games. And I think that's what we expected of him, especially after seeing last year and going into this year.
Yeah. UNC is doing some things, but we'll see how that goes. This is it for this episode, because next episode we'll be talking about the NFL. What happened over the weekend? Those Dallas Cowboy fans got loud. They're annoying. They're obnoxious. Wow, they beat the Giants. I'll be ranting on that. And then I'll be ranting on how in the world my Patriots lose to the Eagles, who only gave up 1 touchdown and 6 field goals and 2 turnovers and a bunch of holding penalties. I will go on a rant on that because I was at Jake Green's house. We were all Patriot fans just yelling at the house, and we were very pissed. And I was pissed. I was more pissed than anybody in that house. So that's the next episode, and then we'll recap all the other NFL games. I did not win the 25K parlay because there was teams that sold me. 3 teams that sold me, by the way. Both of them we were wrong, and one of them, I don't know what happened. But that will be on the next episode in the next 5 minutes. Lambeau's Water Sports. We'll be catching you in the next 5 minutes.